You ever just look at the world and wonder why some people seem to have it so easy while others just can't catch a break? It's one of the oldest questions we've ever asked, and today we're going to dive into a really fascinating answer from an ancient Buddhist text that tries to make sense of it all. It's called the Sutra on Differentiated Karmic Retribution. So, everything we're talking about today comes from a translation of a sutra that's said to have been spoken by the Buddha himself. You can think of it as an ancient blueprint, one that tries to map out the incredibly complex connection between our actions and the actual fabric of our lives. And this text, it doesn't mess around. It confronts that big question head on. It's not about luck, it's not about fate. Instead, it proposes a whole system, a kind of cosmic logic, if you will, to explain the huge differences we see in people's lives, from our health and our wealth all the way to our social standing. Okay, so how does an ancient text like this even begin to unravel life's biggest puzzle? Well, it starts with a single, incredibly powerful concept, and it's one you've probably heard of, but maybe not quite like this. That concept is karma. But hold on, let's just forget the pop culture idea of some mystical, predestined fate. The sutra presents karma as a natural law, something as real and unavoidable as gravity. It says that we are literally bound to what we do, and we have to follow the path that our actions create. To put it really simply, actions have consequences. You know, a modern way to think about it is to see karma as the underlying operating system of our lives. It's the code that's just quietly running in the background, processing everything we do as an input and then generating our life circumstances as the output. And that leads directly to this quote right here. According to the sutra, all the variety in life, these differences of high, middle, and low, it's not random. It's the direct output of this karmic process. The system itself is completely impartial. It's just reflecting the actions that have been fed into it. So, what does this actually look like in practice? Well, this is where the sutra gets incredibly specific, laying out these really clear cause and effect relationships for pretty much everything, from how long we live to our social status. Let's just take lifespan, for example. The sutra draws a super clear line. Actions that preserve and cherish life, like being compassionate, they lead to a long life. On the other hand, actions that harm life, whether you do it yourself, you encourage someone else to do it, or you're just happy when bad things happen, that leads to a short one. The symmetry there is, well, it's pretty striking. And this same logic applies to prosperity. The sutra links having great wealth to being generous, helping other people succeed, celebrating when they give to others. And the flip side? It connects poverty to things like stealing, getting in the way of someone else's success, or even feeling pleasure when there's scarcity. The message is basically that our own abundance is deeply, deeply connected to how we treat the abundance of other people. This pattern just keeps on going, right down to our social standing. A respected position in life is tied to acts of respect, honoring your parents and teachers, treating everyone with dignity. And conversely, a low social standing is traced right back to disrespect and arrogance. It seems simple, right? What you put out, you get back. But, as we all know, life is rarely that straightforward. Because life isn't always so black and white, is it? We all see contradictions out there. And what's really interesting is that the sutra acknowledges this. It starts introducing layers of nuance, explaining that not all actions carry the same weight. Here, the text gets into the severity of an action. It actually grades negative deeds from heavy down to subtle, and each one leads to a different outcome, or what it calls a realm of experience. So the really heavy deeds lead to the worst circumstances, while even something subtle like arrogance has its own distinct consequence. And what's fascinating is this idea that just to even be born a human requires a foundation of good deeds, no matter how imperfect they might have been. This whole framework helps explain some of life's paradoxes. For instance, why are some really wealthy people so incredibly stingy? The sutra might suggest they made one single significant offering in the past to a worthy field. You can think of that as super fertile ground for good karma, like a noble cause or a great teacher, but they never actually made generosity a habit. And on the other hand, a poor but generous person might have a deep-seated habit of giving, but if their actions didn't happen to connect with that same worthy field, the material return is smaller. It's about both the action and its context. So far, this might seem like it's all focused on avoiding bad outcomes, but the text spends just as much time, if not more, on the positive side. It outlines how we can proactively generate beneficial results for ourselves, which it calls merit. And it's not vague about it. In fact, it gives you a detailed menu of positive actions and explains that each one comes with its own package of 10 specific rewards. It's like a clear roadmap for anyone looking to consciously shape their future. So, for example, the act of offering light is said to bring rewards related to, well, light, gaining wisdom, eliminating the darkness of ignorance, and becoming a kind of beacon for other people. Similarly, offering food results in gaining physical strength, vitality, and even being well-loved. The reward almost poetically mirrors the deed. What's so empowering here is that these actions don't have to be some huge, grand gesture. The sutra really emphasizes that even the simplest act of respect, like just joining your palms together in a greeting, carries its own set of 10 powerful merits, including things like greater wisdom and a supportive family. Ultimately, this ancient text hands us this profound sense of personal responsibility. It suggests that our lives aren't random at all, but are being continuously shaped by the echoes of our choices, big and small. And that leaves us with a final question to think about. If every single action you take creates an echo, what do you want yours to say?